I really do appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today to discuss climate pollution. As you heard, I spent 8 years running the Environmental Protection Agency. I've spent the better part of my professional life working to reduce pollution. I'm from Florida, the Florida Everglades, to the soot and the smog that plague our cities and cause asthma attacks in our children, to the dangers of toxic chemicals in our communities. Throughout, I have relied on science to understand the threats, and I have worked with industry to find common sense, cost-effective solutions to these public health challenges, including agreements for cleaner, more efficient cars, redeveloped brownfields, Superfund sites, and investments in clean sources of energy. Despite the good work of so many to address the real and vexing pollution problems that threaten all Americans, today we face the greatest pollution challenge ever, climate change. We are already beginning to see the impacts of climate change. We are living with more powerful hurricanes, worsening drought, melting glaciers, devastating wildfires, and rising sea levels. And it's not just environmental impacts. Climate change is wreaking economic calamity too. Natural disasters cost the world $155 billion last year from 2011 to 17. Extreme weather caused $675 billion in economic damages. Hurricane Michael and the destruction of Tyndall Air Force Base will cost the Air Force over $5 billion to rebuild. Damage from Hurricane Florence will cost the Marine Corps roughly $3.7 to rebuild Camp Lejeune. Now, we're not saying that these hurricanes are climate change caused, but hurricanes are certainly being made worse by climate change as our seas warm and the temperature of the water changes. Climate change is also having a measurable negative impact on the lifeblood of our planet, our oceans. Our oceans are in decline. Why should we care about oceans and climate change? Because failing to do so threatens every life on the planet. Oceans cover nearly 3/4 of the Earth's surface. They produce almost half of all the oxygen we breathe and absorb more than 1/4 of the carbon dioxide we emit. As you heard, I served on the Global Oceans Commission. Our final report noted all life on Earth, including our own survival, depends on healthy, vibrant oceans. Billions of us rely on it for food, transportation, energy, recreation, and livelihoods. The science shows us that the oceans have the mechanisms and opportunity to heal. That is the good news. That through the regenerative role of the high seas, it is possible to restore the whole ocean health. The Commission called for a regeneration zone, an area free from industrial fishing in the high seas, tougher offshore oil and gas safety standards, closing down illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Here at home, Congress should maintain marine protected areas already designated and support efforts to identify additional areas for protection. Through the Antiquities Act and the National Marine Sanctuaries, these areas protect vulnerable ecosystems and benefit sustainable fisheries. Congress should support more funding for coastal and marine habitat restoration programs. And Congress should encourage monitoring programs that provide essential information to coastal communities and ocean-dependent businesses, including the Federal Ocean Acidification Research and Monitoring Act, the National Estuarine Research Preserves, and the Sea Grant Program. When it comes to climate change, we have more science than we have ever had on any environmental or economic crisis. More science than was behind any decision made by EPA to protect our air and our water. Waiting will only make it worse. In my work, I have known some of the best environmental engineers in the country, in the world. There's not a one among them that can actually reverse sea level rise. With the new Congress comes a new opportunity to lead and a responsibility to act. The scientists are issuing the warnings, we are running out of time. You could be our greatest hope to reverse the curve of inaction and instead find the solutions that will determine our economic and environmental future. Now is the time for action that addresses climate change, quickens the inevitable transition to clean energy sources, protects our oceans and environment for future generations. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be with you today.